showed on productivity and compensation. Think of it this way. The United States has continued each and every year to get richer and richer. The people, all of us in this room, every worker in America has continued to produce more stuff for every hour that they have spent at work, producing more and more value for their employers and for corporations. And yet the chart that Radhika showed you, the American people have not received the benefit of that gain in profits and increase in output here in the United States. So as we're having this conversation about creating economic opportunities for women and for everyone, I think it's really important to remember in the US context, America continues to be richer today than we were 2, 3, 5, 10, 20, 15, 30 years ago. And yet we're having a national conversation about how we as a country cannot afford to do as much. We can't afford to cover everybody with health insurance. We can't afford to provide childcare. Yet what Radhika just showed you is that we're actually a lot richer. So what we should be asking is why can we not afford, and why is that not the conversation that we're having? Don't let them tell you that we all have to tighten our belts because somebody else has taken our money. Okay, so that's just an important point to make. So I had five important facts that I wanted to sort of in this transition from global to domestic here. I'm going to talk a little about the U.S., the context for women's economic opportunity here in the United States. And these 5 key facts are going to build in some ways on what you've already heard, and I will do my best not to repeat anything that you've already heard. But the first one is that women are now half of all workers in the United States. There was a brief moment in October of 2009 when we were actually just a smidgen above half. We were actually 50%, which means that men were 49.9%. But for the most part, we're now 49.5% of all workers on U.S. payrolls. And of course, as we all know, this is a dramatic shift. What a big focus of this panel here is today, and what we're talking about at this conference, is that even though women are now half of all workers, we have not made the changes to the institutions around us to reflect this new reality. In so many ways, as we're talking about the economic constraints on women, or we're talking about why women, poor women can't get decent jobs in the labor market, or why they can't get access to childcare or whatever it is that they need, it's because we're living with this profound disconnect. Women are half of all workers, yet the institutions around us have not adapted that. My favorite example on this is that we live in a country where schools shut down for 3 months at a time. And yet we have no national system for dealing with this. When you step back and think about it, this is completely ludicrous. Like, why do we have a country where schools shut down for months at a time, yet the vast majority of mothers work? Which brings me, and of course there are hundreds of other examples, that one is just the most painfully obvious. Which brings me to my second point, which is that as women have increased their share in the labor market, mothers are now the new breadwinners. In 2/3 of American families with children, the mother is either the primary breadwinner, and that's in 40% of families with children in America, or she is a co-breadwinner, bringing home at least 1/4 of her family's income.